Well, good afternoon and welcome to Cessnock Sports Ground on a magnificent Saturday afternoon, and we're here for Cessnock versus South Newcastle in round 14 of the Newcastle Rugby League. We've just had all 17 verses of Don't Knock the Knocks blasted through the speakers. Cessnock are wearing purple, and, well, there's plenty on the line today. As it stands at the moment, 3 weeks before the finals, if it stays like this, Cessnock won't be there. They're in 6th place on 14 points. Curry on 15, Lakes on 16, so they've got some work to do. South, as it stands at the moment, are in 2nd, and that would have been not predicted by too many at the start of the season, I think it's fair to say. All's in readiness here for kick-off. Cessnock in the purple and yellow today as a result of Relay for Life. South in red and white as per usual, and it's almost time. Graham Stair is our referee. He's got the whistle in his mouth, and away we go. Round 14, and things are getting sorted out now. And the kick goes down. It's fumbled there by Foran, who does well. Cessnock side today, Mendykes at fullback, Pine on one wing in 2, Orchard in 5 on the other, Metcalf 3, Williams 4. The halves are 6, Jones, Antcliffe, and 7, Liam Foran. 8, Dan Metcalf, 9, Josh Dimmick, and 10, Corey Barber. 11, Marvin Philippou. 12, Sam Abthorpe, and 13, Brendan Halad. On the bench, 14, Brett Stevens. 15, Zeb Dunstan. 16, Noah Easton, and 17, Connor Kirkwood. Cessnock rolling the ball forward here in the early exchanges of this match, and that is Brett Stevens in 14 and got that away to Philippou. South, coached of course by Todd Hurrell. Their fullback is 1, Sam Cook, 2, Sam McIntyre, 3, Tim Christie, 4, Jared Edwards, back playing against his old side today. 5, Jared Flanagan, the top try scorer in the competition. 6, Willie Hedder. 7, Rex Johnson. 8, Daniel Nilsson. As the kick goes down, there's an early task here for the winger, and that's McIntyre, who wore one there from Orchard, and then wears another one, and that'll be a penalty, the first of the afternoon from Graham Stair. Cal Orchard a little bit too enthused there. As I say, 9, Liam Higgins, 10, Brendan Simpson, 11, Ben Roos, 12, Jake Lawrence, and 13, the captain coach, Todd Hurrell. And their bench is 14, Luke Higgins, 15, Roman Fapulii, 16, James Taylor, and 17, Jack Welsh. And so South with an early opportunity here, starting a set 40 out from their own line. And it's Higgins in a dummy half. And he'll look for Simpson, who's been carrying them on in the last few weeks. He's been immense every week for South. Here's Hurrell. And that's for Pulii. And the field position is good here. So getting on the short side here to Hedder. And that looks like Lawrence in 12. Now there's a task here for Edwards, who had to scuttle into dummy half. Hedder away for Pulii again. Oh, that's Nilsson, in fact, pardon me. And now Higgins away to Hedder. This will go to the sky. And a task here for Mendyke, who does well under a lot of pressure. There's a bit of agitation here in the grandstand about a tackle in the air. And Orchard has some space to run into from dummy half. And there's a penalty for Cessnock. So Graham Stair squaring things up early here in the first couple of minutes. Just a bit too much work in the tackle. And Liam Foran can blast this into touch, which he does just about. So this time it's Cessnock's turn, and that's Metcalf in the 3 jumper. And the ball's come out there. And I don't think he's too pleased about the decision. So an early opportunity in good field position, and Cessnock have turned it over. The table after 13 rounds, Macquarie on 19 with a plus 98 points difference. And the minor premiership is looking like it's going to Toronto at this stage. South on 17 with a plus 66. West's on 17 with plus 46. And then Lakes 16 on plus 86. If it stayed like this, Lakes would be in an elimination semi-final in the first week of the playoffs. Then it's Curry on 15 with a plus 36 points differential, and Cessnock on 14 with a minus 4 for and against. As South rucking it forward here. There's a bit of sting in the game already. Now here's Hurrell, and there's a bit of sting in that from Metcalf. And Roos was collateral damage there. He's down clutching at his shoulder, I think. But they go to the right. Here's Heta. That's a good ball out the back to Edwards. And he just didn't have any company there, Jared Edwards. They go across to Heta, who just manages to skip past one there. And the kick is a beauty there to Hurrell, and he's offside. He's offside. I didn't think he was that quick. He might have been a bit surprised to get to that one on the full. And now Graham Stair is going to have a word to Todd Hurrell. The one thing we do know about Graham Stair is that he doesn't take back chat very well. And sure enough, he's marched him 10 metres. You'd think they'd all know by now. Just asking for trouble. Now he's asking for trouble because Foran has found the fullback on the full on the touchline. And so Sam Cook takes it. Well, it's just one of those mistakes. I mean, the first kick for touch was fairly ordinary. That one was a shocker. So Souths with a chance. And it's Hurrell. And giving away that penalty might have been the best thing they ever did. Higgins to Simpson. And they're using the backs here. And the ball away is a beauty. And that's an even better one there to Christie. And Christie's going to go in the corner if he hasn't bounced it. I think he might have bounced it, you know. He has. It's no try. It was Johnson to Roos to Christie. And it's a Cessnock ball. A knock on. In the corner as he went with the ball. Just couldn't quite force it. So a good scramble from the Cessnock defence. But some early gaps out wide. They did that very easily. As Metcalf comes on. So a little bit going on already here. And Barber's driven back. There's some sting in this South defence that you haven't seen in previous seasons. This is Halad, and he's hit hard. Cessnock just spinning their wheels a little bit here. And that's the 12, Sam Apthorpe. Now Stevens. And he finds the grass. And makes Cook retrieve. And the ball just playing tricks with him there. But finally he's got it. And they've got him. And so the backs will do the work here. This is McIntyre. And this is the other winger, Jared Flanagan. As I said, top try scorer in the competition this year with 10. The Cessnock dummy half, Josh Dimmick, has got 9. So Higgins going to work the short side here, or is he going to go it himself? He does. And there was an appeal, as they call it him. Now it goes over to Heta, who's going to try this chip again. And this time there's a bit more of a chase. And it was, I think, Flanagan in field there who got bundled over. And he's now on the ground. It was Rex Johnson, in fact, in the 7, who tried to get onto the end of that. And it was only the bounce of the ball that beat him. So a few nervous moments here for Cessnock early on. We've had 7.5 minutes on Bar TV. Cessnock 0, South 0. In one of the games that will have the most effect on the make-up of the ladder at the end of the season. And that's Apthorpe. And they go across here to Foran, who's looking for the grass again, and he doesn't find it. That's McIntyre who's got it for South. And he's just bobbing and weaving, but he runs into a stern tackle from Brad Stevens. Now it's Christie. He's already seen that try line once. They go across to Roos. And he wears one a little bit high from Jones Ancliffe, but he missed. And so Roos just strolls upfield. South making good ground with the ball and not giving too much up without it. And that's Daniel Nilsson. And they go away here to Header. And Header's just put Lawrence through a gap. And there's a huge chance here for South. It's a miracle ball back inside. And now Header. And back to Edwards again. And Edwards is just standing and fighting. What about the pass from Jake Lawrence? Now header. And that was taken down. That's going to be a try. It's a deflection. It's a deflection that lands perfectly for Daniel Nilsson. And Cessnock can be fairly sour on their luck there. That's not what South were trying to do, but I suspect they'll take it. And they lead in the 10th minute of the game. Fancy a bit of luck like that at this stage of the season. He's obviously got a fan somewhere in the crowd here. And Willie Hedder has the chance to make this 6-0. And you'd imagine he won't have any trouble. But even though that was a lucky try, you'd have to say, on the balance of the game so far, South deserve it. They've hit harder, they've made more ground. So Heta. 6-0 South. So Johnson takes the kick off, and on comes South with Lawrence. And that's a good carry. They go away here to Hurrell, who's very eager to get involved, as I suppose you have to be when you're the captain coach. And Higgins now scurrying away at a dummy half again. That's the second time he's done that, and this time he's drawn a penalty. Had the momentum there. So Hedder doesn't make the same mistake as four, and he blasted that into the crowd. And they're on again with Roos. Higgins away here to Johnson. And to Simpson. Hedder. And they're trying it again with Lawrence. That's a great bit of play to Cook, but it's knocked down there. They won't let this go on. And Chris Pine in his 200th. Sadly wasted a bit of energy there. It was a knock on. So South are going to get this back. But you can see what they're trying to do. They're going that right-hand side. They're getting Sam Cook involved, and they're trying to hit Jared Edwards. Up against Brendan Williams over there, and I think you'd have to say he's got the size advantage. As here's Johnson away to Cook, and they're trying it again here, and Cook's gone straight up the middle of them. There's some gaps in this Cessnock defence today. Johnson away there to Simpson, who takes a bit of time to wind up, but hits hard when he does. They've got them stacked to the right here. It's Higgins, and Higgins will just go at himself, and he might be able to get that down, but he just gets held up and forced back. So Hurrell firing it out the back to Johnson. They've got numbers out here again. This time it's Christie. Christie just holds it up as long as he can. McIntyre is taken again. And this time they force him back and infield. Good defence there for Cessnock. Christie away to Johnson and Simpson. He'll take it up again. And Hetter's lurking on the right-hand side. Here he goes. And he just jabs this onto the boot. There's a contest out there. It's taken by Flanagan, who might be able to get himself to ground. He does. And it's 10-0. And the second time, South kicked close to the line. And it's the second time they've come up with a try. If the first one was lucky, the second one was well played. They made it a contest out there, and Flanagan reacted first. And Cessnock have got to find something here. They're 10-0 down after just 15 minutes. A lot of the urgency for Cessnock comes from the fact that their next two games are pretty tough. They've got to go to Harker Oval next week, and then they've got Curry here on the last day of the season, and I think you'd almost have to start buying your tickets for that one now to guarantee getting a seat, because if that's a play, that could well be a playoff for fifth place between the two rivals. So Header's got this lined up over on the touchline. He'd be about maybe 3 inches in from touch. So this is a tall order. It's on its way. I think it's over. It's a beauty. Willie Header from the touchline. It's 12-0. And South at the moment, you'd have to say, look every bit like a top 2 or 3 side. So away we go again. And they're just going to send big Brendan Simpson at them. Bang, there he goes. He's been winning that forward battle every week for South. And so Higgins gets it away there to Nilsson. And now they work it right, and that's a fumble. It's a fumble there from Lawrence, and here's a chance for Cessnock. It was Williams who fell on it, and it's Easton who takes it forward. Dimmick away to Halad. Halad straight at them. Taking a lot of metres there. They're set out deep to the right, flat to the left. It's Dimmick, he goes flat instead to Apthorpe. Now it's Metcalf. It's Metcalf to Barber. It's a great ball and an even better ankle tap from Johnson down low. Couple of tackles left here. Barber might be in some trouble. He's going to just eventually get to his feet there, but he looks pretty sore. Here's Metcalf. And he just goes straight at them and didn't have anyone to pass to after the contact. Dimmick, 4, and they're a bit bunched up here, but here's Easton up the middle. Last tackle. What's the play? It's Foran on the left. And he's going to put this fairly high there. It's Pine up against Flanagan. Pine got a hand to it. Filippo got it down. It's still last. Now Mendyke. And he's going to kick to the opposite side. And it's going to be fielded in the end fairly comfortably by Sam McIntyre. So a set that promised a little bit, but didn't come to anything other than a South restart on the 20. And so here's Johnson. And they're having a bit of joy with those runs out of dummy half. Higgins away. And that's the 16 on the field, James Taylor. Strong musical flavour in the south side. We've got Sam Cook and James Taylor. You'd imagine the post-match karaoke is of an unusually high quality. Here's Hurrell. And he's wrenched back awkwardly in the tackle there. And then he gets a shove from Metcalf as well. Can't imagine that was too pleasant. Here's Header away to Lawrence. And he's punching holes in them out there, Lawrence. That time they handled him all right. Now Edwards. And he just goes on a run. Last tackle now. Header. And just jabs this one through. Cook's there. Oh, it's taken by Mendyke instead. And Mendyke's got some space to run into here. That was good work from the fullback. Cook was steaming onto that ball. And now Pine's driven back. And so Dimmick gives it away. And that looks like Williams in the 4. And Dimmick will go on a snipe himself. And it's not a baddie either. But that's tackle 4. Cessnock haven't had a forward take it up yet. Aside from the hooker, of course. As it goes across here to Apthorpe. And there's a forward carting it up. And it's last tackle. So Dimmick away to Foran. And Cook had it under control and sends Flanagan at them. And he poked his head through. That's a good run. But he's between the 30 and the 40 there. So they give it to McIntyre. But South winning the territory here. They're starting most of their sets from well outside their own 20. And that's another strong carry. That's the 16, Taylor. Now here's Roos. Spiralling ball out there to McIntyre. Jones-Ancliffe did well. Now they go down the short side with Higgins, and that's a great ball from Roos to Christie. Christie's put it on the toe. There's a contest on here. Mendyke fields it. Mendyke's away, and he's out of the in goal. And again, the fullback gets them out of trouble there, Cessnock. Getting on the loose ball and then getting out of the in goal. But the pressure is building. Now Orchard. And that's third. Dimmick and Pine. And he's got no choice but to run it himself. Cessnock staggering a bit here. Now Halad and Apthorpe. And that's last tackle. And they made about 35 metres there as Foran hoofs it downfield. But the bounce is kind to Cessnock. And so McIntyre has a tougher task than he might have expected. And that makes a big difference in the set. And suddenly some of the South players are a bit slow, wandering back. Now Edwards. Was here last year, of course, as was Willie Hedder. And that looks like Taylor again. And Higgins goes for a scurry again. He's getting some value there. And now Cook will just dab this in behind the line. And if that pitches, that could be a very awkward kick. And it proves to be a pretty effective one. Just putting it out of play and giving everyone a rest. I'd imagine it's fairly warm out there. The sun's beating down strongly. And there are some hands on heads from both sides as they get into position. We're past the quarter mark in the game, 17 and a half to go in the first half. And it's South Newcastle 12, Cessnock 0. Morgan Campbell with you on Bar TV. Match of the round, of course, is tomorrow. Curry and West at Harker Oval. Curry last beat West there, I think, during the reign of Henry VIII. But they're on a roll. They've knocked off Lakes twice in a month. They've knocked off Macquarie. And Wests aren't in the best form. So that's going to be a beauty tomorrow. Now here's Dimmick. And he's just weaving away there. And he'll finally be twisted to ground. And the 15 is Zeb Dunstan, and he finds the 13, Brendan Halad. And Dimmick's running the show here, and suddenly there's a penalty. And that's a coach killer late in the count. That's the sort of thing that contributes to the epidemic of baldness amongst rugby league coaches. They've done all the work there, and Cessnock are going to get another set. And it's Easton who starts it. And he got a jolt there from Todd Hurrell. Now Halad. And Dimmick looks short to Dunstan, who just goes himself. Zeb Dunstan, 1-on-1. He's there. Well, there wasn't a lot doing there, but Zeb Dunstan just threw the big right foot step and was away. Opened them up. And Cessnock are back in it. 12 points to 4, and how they needed that. They needed that, all right. Under the post, too. And you'll scarcely see a simpler try. Zeb Dunstan just got that. And as soon as he threw the step, it opened up. And Todd Hurrell is having an impolite, shall we say, discussion with Graham Stair. A frank exchange of views, maybe. So he's on his case already. Well and truly. And Mendyke has this to make it 12-6. He's kicked it. It's one of the more unusual kicking styles Brent Mendyke has. He sort of comes straight at the ball. But when they go over, it doesn't matter. So 14 minutes to go in the first half here. And South still have the lead, 12 points to 6. But the chasm that opened up in the middle of their defence will be cause for concern, I'd have thought. As Header gets us back underway. And forward they come with Brendan Halad. Now Easton. And Easton's still going. That's a good carry. It took a bit of a subcommittee to get him to ground eventually there. A few had to go. Now Metcalf. So Dimmick gets them going here. He goes for a run himself. They need to follow up with him. He made good ground there, but didn't have a great deal of support. So Metcalf deputises at dummy half, and Foran finds the grass here. And Cook is able to take it well enough. But that was one of the better sets Cessnock have had. A little bit of momentum started for them there. Now McIntyre. That's inside. That's the 14. That's Luke Higgins. That's helpful to commentators. I'm going to say Higgins, you're a decent chance of getting it right when there's two of them on the field. And that's Taylor. You should be able to just see the 40-metre line in Cessnock's half of the field. As Hatter, he's going to send this one to the air. And it's awkward there for Cal Orchard, but he did well. Followed it. Got underneath it. And then carried it forward. And Cessnock start this set in slightly better position than they have been. So Dimmick finds Metcalf, who's always eager to get involved in the work of the forwards. Foran's down that short side. He's almost thrown an intercept there to Filippo, and then Filippo's almost thrown one into the grandstand. Instead, it took a touch, and it's landed on there by Jared Edwards. So they give South a chance here. And Cook finds the 15. That's for Puliai. Johnson away to Roos. Those edge back rowers have been causing trouble with things exactly like that. Now Johnson. And then Cook. And this is good play. They've got numbers here. Lawrence away to Edwards. And it's all fallen apart for them in the back line. Well, they worked it beautifully and then they worked it appallingly. And poor old Jared Flanagan just had a despairing hand out the back there as the ball dribbled into touch. So 10.5 to go here. And Cessnock rather got away with that one. As Jones Antcliffe is clattered there and driven back. He's fairly new to first grade, Jones Antcliffe. And this is Dunstan, the man who got things going for Cessnock with that try. But he got rather chopped down that time. Now Barber. The defence in the middle is strong from South. They're cutting them down in quick time. Now Foran and Metcalf. And Jones Antcliffe. And now there's a chance here for Orchard. And he'll head infield. And suddenly there's a lot of space. And it's still Orchard up against Johnson. And now he gets another one away. And that's a great carry from Cal Orchard advancing them up the field. Dimmick's got Metcalf here. And Metcalf's got a spiralling ball out the back that rather slowed things down. Now Phillippo. And still Marvin Phillippo over Cessnock. And still Phillippo. And he's weaving through them in the middle. And this is last. Dimmick away. Foran. Long inside ball to Easton, who's favourite from there. He'll still try and reach out. And I think he was about an inch short. He wasn't far away at all. And Stair's going to have another confab here. What's going on here? There's a bit of concern out on this wing. Someone's lost a boot. I think it's Tim Christie. So while he does his laces up, everybody gets a break here. With 9 minutes to go until half time. The score still South 12, Cessnock 6. And, oh, there's a trouble here for Marvin Phillippo as well, who's going to be chaired from the field here, or assisted from the field by a couple of trainers. And that would be a big loss for Cessnock indeed. We only saw about 20 seconds ago what Marvin Phillippo can do with that weaving run from the left fringe. And now he's making his way off with what looks like a problem with his knee or ankle. But he's walking very awkwardly. And it's hard to imagine he'd be able to get back out there today. It's Dan Metcalf who comes on to replace him in 8, so his break was a little bit shorter than he would have expected. But it's a very long voyage off the ground from that far corner for Marvin Phillippo. But he is off now, and we continue. And there's a driving tackle here from Cessnock, and this could be a line dropout. Well, what about that? A huge bit of defence to drive them back. And Roman Fapulii taking it out of his own territory, got driven back into his own in goal. And that's the sort of thing that can lift a side. Header wants to get on with this, though, and pumps the kick long. Metcalf to carry it back. And there's some expectation around the ground because there was a chance something like that could happen. And he's still fighting with them, Dan Metcalf, who was standing like Batman, kapow. Now Barber. Dimmick away to Dunstan, who's going to go at them again, Zeb Dunstan. And again, he was almost in fresh air there. Now there's a roll on for Cessnock. Dimmick gets the fumbles, though, because he was tackled. Now it's picked up by Cook. And Stair's going to say play on and let South take advantage here. But again, the momentum was building and came to naught. And they're up quickly on that side. And then there's a bit of UFC stuff there from Dan Metcalf. And now there's a knock on. There's a bit of feeling in the game. But the mistakes are coming here. Both sides being a bit too generous with possession. But Cessnock ended that rather tatty passage of play. About where they started a couple of minutes ago with the scrum just about on the 40-metre line. So Metcalf feeds and Foran has it. And oh dear, oh dear. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Brendan Williams straight off the scrum. Well, I did say they were both being generous. That one was particularly charitable. And at the moment, you kind of think if one side just gets the 5th tackle, that'd be a start. So Header feeds the scrum and finds Johnson, and he just goes on a bit of a weave. And so South are in Cessnock's territory here, and this is Taylor. And that's a great carry from Taylor, and it ends with a knock on. And so Easton has it for Cessnock. And I don't think we've seen a side get to tackle 3 in the last 4 or 5 sets. Now Foran. Oh, that's an awkward one. That's an awkward one, and it draws a bit of condemnation from the grandstand. And Stair gets involved. That's a lifting tackle if ever there was one. A force of gravity more than malice, I suspect, but off they go. So Williams taps, finds Dimmick and Metcalf. And Cessnock with a big chance here. Now Halad. And Halad still just scrapping with them out there. Header had to come again. There's 5 minutes left here in the first half. And there's trouble here for Brendan Halad. And there is concern here. And they're looking for the stretcher. And there's a bit of agitation from the trainers. Chris Pine is in there assisting Brendan Halad here. There's a lot of trainers coming out onto the field. There's significant concern here. It looked fairly innocuous enough from here, although it is on the far side of the ground. But it looks like the stretch is coming out. So Cessnock, having lost one part of their back row with Marvin Philippou going off, could be about to lose another. So Brendan Halad's to his feet now, which is a good sign. But it looks like a concern with his shoulder or elbow there. And he's having it held in place, so could be a little bit nasty there for Brendan Halad, but he's coming from the field, and as I said with Marvin Philippou, I'd be surprised if he's back out there today as well, given the amount of concern that was shown and the anguish on his face as he comes off. So Cessnock could be finishing the afternoon with 15 players here as we're back underway with Easton. That's going to make things very difficult for these forwards with the diminished rotation. Now Metcalf fizzing it out the back there to Jones Antcliffe. Dimmick away to Metcalf, who seems to be playing 5/8 here. Now forward back inside the Easton. And they're setting things up to the left. There's a few heading that way. They go to the right instead, and it's Metcalf. Flings it out the back. Jones Antcliffe's got some numbers. He just kicks it through to Orchard, who picks it up and falls over the line. Well, what a try. It was scrappy, and I don't think it was a play from the training ground, but they all count the same. And Cal Orchard, after some quick thinking from Jade Jones Antcliffe, has put Cessnock within 2. It's 12-10 with 4 to go in this first half, and Cessnock have a kick to go square. A rather bizarre try. Metcalf flung it out the back. Jones Antcliffe kicking rather early in the count there. And I don't think it quite went where he wanted it to. But Orchard found the line. And if Mendyke can find a spot between these posts, it's going to be all square. So half a yard in from touch. It's Brent Mendyke for 12 all. It's not quite going to sneak over. It hits the post. 12-10, 2.5 to half time. But Cessnock have scrapped their way back into this. They started poorly. South were belting them. They're winning the contact, winning the territory. Cessnock have fought back here. And so we're underway again. And Easton charges back into them. Now Metcalf, who looks very, very eager for this. And that's the second time he's picked out Rex Johnson. Now Dimmick. There's been a palpable shift in the momentum here. And Cessnock all of a sudden might not be that keen on half-time. Dimmick's looking for Dunstan. And he's got Foran in the middle. And Foran just had to go at himself there. The pass was a little bit behind him. It just threw out the timing somewhat. But here's Metcalf. And that's not a bad kick. Cook's got a job here and he does it well. And he gets belted on the way through. And they're saying offside. There are some complaints for the crowd about the fact that it was Metcalf in the 3 who put the kick in, and he might well have run everybody onside, but I'm yet to see any referee change their mind, least of all Graham Stair. So Christie takes this up, and South have a little chance to have a bite at them here with 40 to go. 40 seconds that is, and they're going to have a bite. Here's the kick through for Cook. It's Cook against Orchard. Cook's winning the race. Goodness me. Cook's winning the race. He scored a try in the last 30 seconds of the first half. South shouldn't even have had the ball. They certainly shouldn't have had it in that field position, and then all of a sudden they get a penalty. Header comes up with a kick, and South are back out to 16-10 with a kick to come. And just when you thought Cessnock were pushing on and looking to have the better of the game, South could be as many as 8 in front at half time. A brilliant bit of spark from Willie Header and a brilliant bit of pace from Sam Cook. And a kick which isn't a dolly, but it's not the nastiest. So here's Header. The last act of the first half is a conversion to send South 18-10 in front. And that's a real kick in the guts for Cessnock, who started slowly, fought their way back, and have copped one right on half-time to go in 8 behind. Stairs having a chat to the two prop forwards as the players make their way off. We'll make our way off for a few minutes. At half-time here on Bar TV, it's South 18, Cessnock 10. And the home side in the purple today have a hell of a lot of work to do. Well, welcome back to Cessnock Sports Ground. Second half here in round 14. South leading at 18 points to 10 after a pretty keenly fought first half. Both sides threw a fair bit at each other. And just as Cessnock looked to be getting the game back under control, South took it away from them again. So Cessnock, with their season starting to dangle a little bit, have some work to do in this second half. But it's South who begin with the ball. And this is Jared Edwards out of dummy half. If you're wondering why Cessnock are wearing purple, it's because they're raising money for Relay for Life today. Relay for Life's a pretty big deal around here. It happens at this very venue. And the club doing their little bit for the Cancer Council today. South still in their red and white. And they're barrelling into them here. That's James Taylor in 16. And the first set is not bad. They're up to halfway when Hedder puts the boot to ball. And it's awkward there for Mendyke, but he takes it comfortably enough. And the chase is strong. As I mentioned in the first half, Cessnock outside of the top 5 at the moment. As Pine goes east-west there. He ran about 30 metres. Only one of them counts on his metres gained. Cessnock in 6th place at the moment on 14 points. Curry on 15 with a trip to Harker Oval today. Lakes on 16. With what you... Oh, there's a fumble out the back. And it's taken by Mendyke. So Dimmick will find 4 in here down the short side. And he's just got to go for distance here. And Cook takes it well and finds Flanagan. And that's the 30-metre line on your screen at the moment. And it's McIntyre who comes forward. South with the better of the territory so far after a couple of minutes in this second half. Now Taylor, who's been very eager in the centre of the field. And that's the 14 in Higgins. That's Luke Higgins. Liam Higgins in the 9 picks the ball up at dummy half. Now Hedder and Lawrence, and he's got some space to go into there, and he wanted to find Cook. And just thought better of it at the last. Now Hedder throwing a few dummies, finding Edwards. Last tackle. Ball out the back, and it's fallen on by Stevens. But Stair says the tackle was over anyway. But there's going to be a chat here. And a penalty to Cessnock here. So here's Dimmick. And that's Brett Stevens. Cessnock most likely playing with only 2 on the bench here because Marvin Filippo had a nasty injury in the first half. And then a few minutes later, so did Brendan Halad. And I'd be surprised if either of them are going to come back, as there's a shove from Metcalf on Hurrell. There's been a bit between that pair today. Now he's Sean Metcalf. Barber, Dimmick. They're not quite slick with the moving of the ball. And there's a fumble. There was nothing slick about that. Josh Dimmick just doing 2 things at once there. He was off and away down the short side before he'd picked the ball up there. And so again, it's a South Newcastle ball, and Cessnock just giving it up a bit too cheaply, a bit too often. And when you do that, you really are asking for trouble. It's a big occasion for South today as well. I mean, they're sitting in 2nd place. And they weren't especially fancied before the season started. They missed out on the semis last year with a complete collapse in the last few weeks of the season. Yet as it stands, they'd be playing at home in a major semi in round 1 of the finals. And they've won some of the big games. They knocked off Lakes early in the year. They've beaten West. They've then drawn with them a couple of weeks later, and they're in front against Cessnock here. Now here's Hurrell. And Johnson. Took a bit of time to reel that one in. It's way here to Header. And again, he just sends this to the sky. Mendyke does well. He's met ferociously out there by Tim Christie. And so it's the backs doing the work here for Cessnock. This is Williams. And he takes about 20 metres off them. That was a good carry. A scuttling run out of dummy half. Now Barber. The forwards. Finally getting involved here for Cessnock. Now Foran. And he'll find the turf with this kick. That's not a bad one. And Cook will almost be in the in-goal by the time he retrieves it. He finds Flanagan and says, oh, gee, thanks. And gets belted by Sean Metcalf up high. Not quite a hospital pass, but possibly a trip to the chiropractor pass. As on comes McIntyre. And that's Cook out of dummy half. Seemed more interested in arguing the point with the referee as he was being tackled. Now Higgins, and a ball that looked forward there to Higgins. But he strolls through up to halfway. That was Liam Higgins to Luke there. And the combination worked well. Very slow play the ball here. Recriminations from both sides. Now Taylor. Oh, there was a swinging arm in there from Metcalf and then a bit more. Getting a bit ratty out there. Now Header. And for the second time today, the ball finds the ground. The first time it ended in a South try. This time it's much more pleasing for Cessnock. Now Dan Metcalf, who's just itching for a blue here. He's making this a real contest in the middle of the park. Now Dunstan. And Foran's got a scrap with the marker there, and Stair bails him out as he dropped the ball. Someone has a word, and they can walk 10 metres further backwards. They simply still haven't got the message. Clubs in the real NRL. As Barber is bundled over and lost the ball. Well, as he landed on the deck there, the ball came out. And again, South give away a penalty, let Cessnock up the field. And then a save from themselves. Of course, if Cessnock were to lose this week, that would leave them stuck on 14 points. And if Curry were to do what they haven't done since the time of the War of the Roses, they'd be on 17. And suddenly, as here's Edwards going upfield, that's a good tackle down low from Williams. Good technique there. Having said that, it takes a couple more to finally get him to ground. If Curry were to go to 17 points, Cessnock would need Curry to lose next week, or in a fortnight's time, and then they'd need to beat them on the final day to have any chance. Now here's Johnson. A bit of second phase stuff here from South, and then third phase stuff. But they're going to say strip. And South have a penalty. In a pretty good place to have a penalty. So Cook finds touch. And the ball rasps off the railing there. And presumably nearly decapitates someone standing on the fence. And this is a big chance. It's Simpson back on the field, bumping off Metcalf. He's the man they need out there if it's going to get fiery in the middle. Higgins to Hatter. Now Roos. And he's just weaving and stepping past them there. It wasn't too productive in the end. Higgins again to Hatter. And this is Simpson, and he's chopped down in a beauty. That's the sort of tackle the junior coaches hope for from their charges. Here's Header with a flat ball to Lawrence, who can reach out and score. And South's lead is out to 12 with a kick to come. And it was pretty simple in the end. Header taking it to the line and feeding that flat ball to Lawrence, who had space to stroll into. And if Header was to slot this kick, Cessnock would be 3 tries away. 22 points to 10 with the kick to come, and only half an hour to go in the game. And as Header goes back to line this kick up, going to be a new introduction to the game. Connor Kirkwood has got card number 6 in his hand. He's wearing number 17 on his back. And he's about to head out there. In what would only be about his 3rd first grade game. So Header lines this up. It looks wide. That was an ordinary strike every bit of the way. So that helps Cessnock a little bit. Keeps it to 2 converted tries. As there's some expert head taping going on down here. And rugby league, it's a beautiful game, isn't it? You might just see him wander through our shot right now. Ben Roos in the 11. He's had the bandage and then the head tape. It's always a great look for the modern rugby league player. Now, Connor Kirkwood's introduction has come at the expense of Zeb Dunstan, who's just left the field. Now there's a wonky old kickoff, which is taken by Jake Lawrence. The try scorer getting the next touch of the ball. Now it's Taylor in 16. Oh, that's Roos. Oh, it's Simpson, in fact, who fumbles. He's another one in the head tape, and it might be a bit too tight. The ball going straight in and coming straight back out. So it's South this time, giving their opponents the ball pretty cheaply. So Metcalf and Mendyke. And Mendyke getting past one there. There's still 26 minutes to go. There's no cause for panic just yet for Cessnock, but they might want to get things moving. Barber goes down. And there's another stoppage here. I think there's a problem. Somebody on the deck there with what looks like a head injury, if the gesture from Sean Metcalf's anything to go by. Let's try and work out who that is. He's to his feet anyway. There's been a bit of an attrition rate in this game. There's been a few stoppages for injuries. Still no sign of Marvin Filippo or Brendan Halad. It's fair to say I think their day is probably at an end. Cessnock likely finishing with only 2 on the bench. And South are going to have to make a sub here as well. Which is going to be a bit difficult because I don't see anyone warming up. Well, Daniel Nelson's just emerged from somewhere with the card in his hand. And I think this is a precaution here, the chance of a head injury. And there's a fair bit of blood coming from the nose as well, so I think the sub was probably a good idea. Doesn't look too nice for Rex Johnson in number 7. Play goes on, and this is Metcalf. So there'll have to be a reshuffle here for South with the halfback off the field. I can't imagine Daniel Nilsson's gone on at halfback. Now Barber and Stevens and flat to Easton. They're within range here. Now Dimmick. He's got 9 tries already this year. 2 hat-tricks along the way. Now Foran, and there's a kick through, and there's a chase on. And it's picked up very neatly over there. And that's a great bit of work from Sam McIntyre on that wing to field that ball and then get himself away. And now there's a big carry from Nilsson on the field. And I don't know if that pass was advisable. But on they come with Taylor. The result's not too bad. That might have been Tim Christie who did that good bit of work in the in goal, not Sam McIntyre. My apologies to Mr. Christie and his family for robbing him of a compliment there. But South are rolling on. Here's Lawrence. Oh, and in came Orchard with a shoulder. The call from the back line was into him. Now Edwards. And he's taken about half a dozen of them there. Very finally submits. Now header, and there's a big fleet of chasers on the left-hand side. And they're all coming for Brent Mendyke. And it's header in the end who thought he'd made the tackle, but Mendyke kept going there. But Cessnock starting a set 5 out from their own line. Now Pine. In his 200th. Hasn't got across just yet. Now Kirkwood. That's his first contribution for the afternoon. And here's Barber. Dimmick finds Metcalf, who found Stevens, who found Dimmick, who found Jones-Antcliffe, and now here's Kirkwood bobbing up on the wing, and he's gone for the chip and chase, and that's a very brave move, and it almost came off for him, but for the intervention of Todd Hurrell, and now they're coming back at them the other way, and here's Cook. And there's a bit of razzle-dazzle from both sides here until Cook is collected around the head, and he's taking something only just short of an eon to get to his feet. Oh, there's a good collision. Oh, that was a jolting hit on Nilsson. It was 8 on 8. And it was about 8 on the Richter scale. And Metcalf's giving him a bit of gob as well, as Nilsson's on the ground, looking a bit sore. And it's that beautiful spectacle in rugby league of one person hurting another and then getting patted on the back for doing so. And Nilsson is going to get to his feet. I don't think he's got any choice, given some of the goading and baiting he's getting from Dan Metcalf. But that might just lift Cessnock. As here's Hurrell. Oh, never mind, lift Cessnock. There was a chance for Roos in the 11 over there. But the ball's come out. Well, there's a few backs being patted now. .23 minutes to go here. South 22, Cessnock 10. And the crowd just getting into the game a little bit. And more importantly, the forwards just getting into the game a little bit. So here's Foran. And a good ball there from Williams. Finding Mendyke. Bit of a training ground play there. With Mendyke turning up in the centres. Now Williams. It should be noted Jones-Antcliffe is playing centre, despite wearing the 6 on the far side of the field. And Sean Metcalf is playing 5'8". We've seen this a couple of times from Cessnock in the last few weeks. Now Dimmick for Foran, holding it up there for Metcalf. Foran got belted after he passed it. And Dimmick will go it alone here. But he's hit strongly. The defence is fairly resolute from South here. Now Stevens for Foran, for Mendyke, who held it up, but it was a forward pass from Foran. So they turn it over again. So Higgins comes away with it. And Hurrell finds Cook. And that looks like Simpson bashing it up. Very ratty play the ball here. Finally it comes to Header, who's got a bit of a step in him for a big fella. And finally it comes out to Roos. But this has been a little bit scrappy from South. They have a chance on last to make something of it. It's Header with the step again. And this time he goes to chip and chase. And for a Benji Marshall impression, it was all right for a second there, but the fumble ended all of that. And it just gives Cessnock a little bit of field position, and now they have a penalty, and they'll have a bit more. And it's a penalty for backchat, and I reckon it's about the 17 millionth penalty for backchat that Graham Stair's given in his refereeing career. And yet they keep doing it. It amazes me, I must say. He just doesn't cop it. And everybody should know by now. And Cessnock, all of a sudden here, we're just having a smoko there. And poor old Jade Jones-Headcliffe tapped the ball on the 40 and saw 20 metres of space before the next player. And now here's Stevens. There's not a lot of drive out there from Cessnock at the moment. Not much at all. Now Metcalf, he might bring some. Foran and Mendyke. And he's collared a bit high there from Edwards, and that'll be a penalty again. It was a bit high, and he's off for 10. There's a binning here, and I think it's for Chat. I think that's all it's for. It wasn't him that did the head high, it was Jared Edwards who made the tackle. But Graham Stair has sin-binned a South's player here. I'll just try and pick up who it is. He's doing a bit of chatting to the grandstand. He's doing a bit more chatting to the grandstand. The grandstand are doing some back. It's James Taylor in 16 who's taken a seat on a chair on the touchline before the ground manager says, no, up the tunnel, thank you. And now there's some back and forth in the grandstand. Well, this is building up nicely. 20 minutes still to go here. James Taylor in the bin for 10 minutes. Cessnock with a man advantage for half of the remaining minutes. And they're close enough if good enough. It's Dimmick to Metcalf, and he goes straight at one of them, and he's there. Dan Metcalf, one up. Bashes into them, falls over the line, and lifts his team. They've got an extra man, and now they've got an extra try. 22-14 with a kick to come. And that was just determination from Dan Metcalf to cart it up and not stop until he got to the try line. And now the pressure is on Brent Mendyke, because if he kicks this, the gap is only 6. But Metcalf's been trying to spark them all day with those bullocking runs. And now he's got some points to show for it. So Mendyke with the kick. Looks okay, but it's fading left. It's not over. So 22-14 it remains. 17 and a half to go here. And South are undermanned for another 8 minutes. But the grandstand finish remains a possibility here. And Heta kicks off with decent depth. And it's Apthorpe coming back at them. And Pine finds Stevens, who's bandaged very, very heavily around his head, and he's got more blood. You wouldn't have thought it'd be possible for any blood to get out of that bandage, but there you go. He's being asked to go out the back and get some treatment. So the call goes out to the sideline. Everything just stops for a moment. Everyone can regroup. And now here's Dan Metcalf. And he'll be looking to pass there, but he thinks better of it. Now Dimmick and Foran, and they're going to go to the back the other way. And this is Barber making good contact. And Dimmick finds Foran, who finds Sean Metcalf. Pass looked forward there to Foran, and it's been called forward. And the South players might regret that because they were away. Sam McIntyre had plucked that out of the air and was going to stroll 40 metres and probably win the game. As it is, the referee had blown it, and South do get the ball, but they don't get the try that looked like it was coming. One of the strange things about this game, that you can be sour on a refereeing decision going in your favour. Now here's Header away to Edwards. But South with a chance to snuff out the recovery here. There's big drive in the tackle. He takes a bit of stopping, big Jared Edwards. And that's Nilsson. And this is Simpson. And he just bumps off Orchard there, who's defending a fair way in the middle on the opposite side of the field. So he's not on the wing anymore, Cal Orchard, as he's Cook going to the line and looking to pass. Connor Kirkwood's playing right wing now. Orchard appears to be playing second row. And there's a few dummies there from Header. And then Hurrell's bumped to the ground. Last tackle. Big chance here for South to put this beyond the home side. Here's the kick from Higgins, and Cook will put it beyond them. He scores! He scores! Sam Cook gets another. The kick was a beauty from Higgins. The Cessnock players were scattered, and Cook was able to come into the space. And then all he had to do was get it down before the dead ball line. And the lead is back out to 12, and it's about to be 14. And Cessnock aren't quite flatlining here, but there are a few nervous glances towards the machine. And Header has the kick. In very good position here. There's no real reason to expect he'll miss this. And with 13 minutes to go, that would leave Cessnock again needing 3 scores. It's Header. It's over. Possibly in more ways than one. 28-14, 12 and a half minutes to go. And that's rather been the story of the game. Every time Cessnock have looked like recovering and coming back into it, South have surged again. And this time they've done it with one less man on the field. So that was possibly an attempt at a short kick-off. It's taken there by Christie, and suddenly he's going to have a snipe at them here. Tim Christie. And South start the set just short of the 40. McIntyre was taken down there. Now it's Simpson. And he's contributing a great deal to their go forward this season. Now Hurrell, and that's a lovely ball from Hurrell LaRousse. And Sam Cook is inexplicably standing 5 metres in front of the ruck with his own team in possession. But Hurrell puts the kick through. And Simpson's the furthest chaser. And all of a sudden, that would have got the crowd excited if the big front rower had landed on the ball. But it's Mendyke who does. And it's not a bad run either. He glided up to the 30. Now Jones-Antcliffe. I think both sides of the grandstand would have taken some joy from big Brendan Simpson steaming onto the kick. Wasn't to be. Now Stevens and Abthorpe. And Barber. Stevens now and Foran. And Foran's going to try the kick here. And it's not a bad option. The chase is on for Pine, who didn't come out with the ball. Cook did. It was a close run thing. But Sam Cook's been very secure at the back today. And now it's Flanagan, who hasn't managed to try to give himself some clear air at the top of the list. Oh, and there's another big hit up high from Metcalf on Nilsson. We've just had a very exciting announcement here at the ground. Cheap chips. $2.50 for hot chips. That's going to get people scurrying. Oh, there you go. $3 steak sandwiches. That'll get them in. That'll get people scurrying towards the canteen as he is. Mendyke scurrying towards the defence. And a bit of contact there. Nothing gets people excited like cheap food at the end of the day. Especially when the team's in trouble. It can be a real lift for the mood. Here's Corey Barber trying to lift the mood, and in the end, he's just lost the ball. And there'll be a query here. They're going to say knock on South, as it was knocked out of Corey Barber's grasp. And then it was knocked on Cessnock. So Cessnock ball, 9 minutes left here. We're getting into miracle territory, but you just never know. There's a bit of aggressive encouragement being shouted from the Cessnock players. So here's Metcalf fizzing a pass out to Antcliffe, who, to his credit, scrapped a little bit there. Trying to bustle away from tacklers. Now Metcalf for Dunstan. Scored the first try today, of course. One that I suspect he will replay a few times, given the way he just wove through the defence. And now here's Foran. And Orchard. And he ran a decent line there, but they had him under control. Dimmick finds Foran. And Foran finds Dunstan, who found a drop. And it's South who come away with Ben Roos. You sense that was the last chance for Cessnock. And that's James Taylor back on the field after his 10 minutes have been served. It went by very quickly, I must say. So the full complement restored for South. And an introduction here for Jack Welsh, who you'll just see in 17 coming onto the field in the last few minutes. He's replacing Ben Roos one of the many gentlemen with the tape around the head today for South Newcastle, and he's put in a good shift out on that edge. Taylor was looking for it again here, but here's the other man on the edge, Jake Lawrence. He got himself a try and a few offloads, and he's looking for another. But he's taken down. Now Hatter and Taylor, and they're up quickly, but ineffectively. And another penalty here. Stair coming over for another chat. Cook wants to tap and go. He won't be allowed to. And Hatter holding the ball up as if to say, what do you reckon we do, Captain Coach? And they're going to tap and go. Not much utility in a kick for goal here other than to waste time. And on they go with Taylor. And Taylor's just still battling with them there, and they finally slam him into the turf. They've got some numbers stacked out to this left-hand side. Cessnock are trying to get out there to meet them. But here's Hurrell holding it up there, holding it up very late for Welsh. Back to Hurrell. And Hurrell's close here, but now he's going sideways and still looking to pass. The ball might have come out there. And now there's a run down the short side here from Christie, who reached out. Couldn't quite get there. South with a chance to buff up their points difference here. They're getting a 16-point boost as it is. Now here's Nilsson. Their points difference going into the game was plus 66. West's plus 46. And Lake's plus 86. And now there's an inside ball to Taylor again, who's put in a good shift today, sin bin notwithstanding. Now Higgins. They've got the numbers here, but they don't need them because they've gone up the middle. And that looks like Brendan Simpson, who's just barreled into them and crashed over. And if the last try didn't snuff the game out, that one certainly has. It's 32-14 with a kick to come here. And South are going to 19 points. They're probably going to plus 86 on for and against. And they're almost certainly going to the finals. In fact, never mind almost, they're certainly going to the finals because Cessnock will be stranded on 14 and they certainly won't be able to catch South. And depending on what happens tomorrow at Harker, Cessnock could be planning Mad Monday pretty soon. Header with the kick here to take the lead out to 20. It's been a contest for most of the day. Cessnock have been in it. But South have just found more in the big moments, you'd have to say. And here's Header with a rather easy task. And so it proves that conversion's going to be more challenging for the ball boy than it was for the kicker, because the ball boy's got to try and retrieve the ball from about half a dozen kids up on the hill who aren't too keen on giving it back. But Header had no trouble at all. 34 points to 14, 4 minutes to go. And the air is out of the balloon here for Cessnock for today at least. So down goes the kick to Hurrell. And that's Simpson, fresh off a try, bashing it into them again. Prop forwards after scoring tries. Full of adrenaline. Now Hurrell. He's put in a good shift today. Higgins away. That's Welsh with only his second touch, and then he gets more than a touch around the head from Sean Metcalf, and I think he knows very well that that one would have hurt. And they're calling for treatment. Jack Welsh has come on in the last 2 or 3 minutes, and there's every chance he's about to go back off again. That was a real wild swing of the arm from Metcalf, and he knew it straight away. He inquired upon the condition of Jack Welsh. It looks like he's okay. He's up on his feet. He might just have some blood, though. I think he's... Looks like he might get some treatment. 4 o'clock chill is well and truly in residence now. And that's just encouraging a few of the spectators to make their way out a little bit early to the warmth of the car or the warmth of the pub. So it's a penalty to South for the high tackle, and they have a chance here to just push this out. I mean, it hasn't felt like a 20-point difference between the teams, but it could be more after this. Christie with the tap for Hurrell. And Taylor, and South still full of running here with a couple of minutes left. Jack Welsh has come off with his arm hanging rather limply on his left-hand side. So only a very short involvement for him today. Hatter. Inside ball to Cook is a beauty. And then he throws an absolute perler of a flick pass to Flanagan, who needs to get that down for the sake of the play that preceded it. That was delightful. A set play and a beauty. They had 3 or 4 queuing up to get that inside ball from Hatter. I don't even think he knew which one he was going to pass it to. And then about a 10-metre flick pass out the back from Sam Cook. Jared Flanagan does get his try. He does go to 11 for the season. You'd imagine he'll stay at the top. And South are going to be very close to the top as well. It's 38-14 with a kick to come. And that's the best play we've seen today. And I don't think we'll see much more, because Willie Hatter is going at a glacial pace to put this ball down and kick it. There's a minute 40 left on the clock. And at this early stage, I'm putting my money on no further play. I'd be very surprised if there's a kick-off from here. Let's just see. The ball isn't even on the tee yet. A minute 20. Given the punishment they've had in the last 10 minutes or so in particular, I don't think Cessnock will be rushing back. 60 seconds to go. I'd say the clock's favourite from here. But here's Hatter to rack up the 40. 45 seconds left, mind you. Here's Hatter. It doesn't look too bad, but it's just fading. Just fading. And so it remains 38-14. The gap remains 24. But it's still a pretty healthy boost to South's prospects. They're going to go up to plus 90. So their points difference now is superior to that of Lakes United, and only just short of Macquarie's. Although we don't know what happened in Macquarie's game today. But there is a kick-off. There you go. I'm a bad judge. They are going to have one more play. And it's Flanagan who takes it. And I think he had a thought about just running this into touch. And in the end, it's a beautiful game, isn't it? I hope there aren't any foreign tourists who are seeing rugby league for the first time, because that would have confused the hell out of them. Flanagan taking the kick-off, standing still, and then just dribbling it into touch to bring things to a rather strange end here at Cessnock Sports Ground. What was in many ways a bit of a strange game. A contest between the two sides for at least 65 minutes. Cessnock at times had the better of it, but South came up with the tries at the most important times. They never let Cessnock get any serious momentum in the game, and they are starting to show themselves as a pretty serious contender this year. They weren't fancied at the start of the season, but they're pretty fancied now. They're on 19 points. They know for sure that they're going to the semi-finals, and they're getting pretty close to knowing for sure. They could be out of that eliminator. They could be in that top 3. So it's a big win for them today. And Cessnock, well, they're in a bit of a hole. They need Curry to lose tomorrow, and they need to beat them on the last day of the season at best. So that's it for me at Cessnock Sports Ground. Morgan Campbell signing off for Bar TV. It's a big win for South today, and another boost to their confidence running into the finals. It's South Newcastle 38, Cessnock 14.